If you're an electronics and electrical engineer, this world of sensor networks is opening up extraordinary possibilities. Because now you are able to put these computing devices, which have, in some ways, computing power, they have a processor, they have memory, they have communication capability, and they can now sense not just physical things like temperature and pressure and so on, which we have been doing for 30 years, but they can also sense location, they can also sense usage, they can also sense many other parameters, including now the interesting thing of wearables, that you can now put sensors on the human body and starts figuring out things dynamically about the human body. Not statically, like you go to a doctor and you get yourself checked up, and at that point in time, your parameters, your blood pressure, your whatever, are at a certain level. But think of it as a wearable or an implant that is doing this monitoring 24/7. It's there with you all the time. So if there is a blockage in one of your arteries or veins, it detects the blockage and it informs maybe your physician that there is a block happening right now. And maybe medical science would find that useful, and then they can intervene in some ways. All of these used to be science fiction. All of these are happening today. All of these are happening because the intersection between computer scientists, electronics engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, all of these are coming together and figuring out how do we leverage the power of these technologies. That's the key message that I'd like you to learn. You have to be good at what you do first. You have to be a good mechanical engineer, you've got to be a good civil engineer, you've got to be a good electronics engineer, you've got to be a good computer scientist. But don't stay within your silos after you've done that. This intersection, multidisciplinarity is reality in today's technology and science. You have to be able to branch and reach out across the boundaries. And all the fun is at the intersections now. The art of the possible is no longer restricted to just one area, but it is across areas. That's the second key message I thought I'd leave with you. The last message on the next chart is, therefore, how should you look at yourself as individuals and prepare for this career in any branch of technology, any branch of engineering that you're looking at? I think as engineers, if you look at the core of that diagram, you're engineers, you're technology people, you know your area well. You will have to now really start understanding the underpinnings of what goes into your engineering discipline. There is a certain amount of science which goes into the discipline. So don't forget your basic sciences. Don't forget your physics, don't forget your chemistry, or even further back, your biology and life sciences. Because only if you remember those principles can you start understanding the implications for your own science. If you're a civil engineer designing a house, you better understand human beings. Because a house is not just four walls and a structure and something which will last the test of time, or earthquakes or whatever, but it's about people who live there. How do you understand people? You have to understand human psychology, you have to understand design, you have to understand human lifestyles, human bodies, and so on. Then you can probably become much better at designing a house. You have to be able to understand different domains of application. So as engineers designing a car, you can't just treat a car as four wheels on a chassis. You're designing personal transportation. You're designing personal transportation which will run on roads, which might be in a city, which might be in a town, which might be in a village, it might be on a highway. The personal transportation is for a purpose. It is for people to go to work, it is for people to go do their jobs, maybe they are support staff, maybe they are salespeople, maybe they are entrepreneurs, whatever. Each domain of human activity has to now inform your engineering discipline so that you can then design better products and services for them. You have to understand software. You may not write software, you may not be a programmer. That is for the computer scientists to figure out. But you have to understand what is it that software and applications can do for you. Like the mechanical engineer who says, this is the problem that I have in materials characterization. I want to be able to design an aircraft skin which will last for 50 years, has this weight to strength ratio, has this deforming capability, it has to have this reflective capability for thermal conductivity. And he lays down 20 parameters that he wants on the material which go into an aircraft body. The translation of those into a potentially huge number of candidate materials from the chemistry, the material science, the physics, is what the computer scientists can now do by saying, out of all these thousands of materials, here are 5 that you can actually formulate in your lab, because I think these 5 are better than the other 5,000 options that you have. So now, as a mechanical engineer, you can now say, hey, instead of testing 5,000 materials for the possibility that I want to pick the one, I'll just start with these 5 and maybe I'll find it in half the time or even less. So that interplay between software and the application is something you need to be able to formulate, and across disciplines. It's not just mechanical, civil, electronics, electrical, and so on. Like I said in the previous chart, it's all about the intersections. So as an engineer of the future, you will have to be underpinned by these 4 things. You'll have to be underpinned by your grasp of the science of what you're trying to do, how that science impacts multiple industrial domains, not just your domain, but everything else which goes around it. Don't just design a product in isolation. See how it interacts with all other products and capabilities in other domains. And understand the power of software and applications at the intersections of your own area. So that's essentially what I had to say. And to summarize, I talked to you about, go to the next slide please. Talked to you about the digital 5 forces, how those forces are shaping the way we think because of the sheer pervasiveness and power of what they can do, how these intersect with multiple branches of engineering. So a computer scientist no longer works in isolation, but works with and works for many other disciplines of engineering. And then you as engineers, how do you prepare yourself for the future? Thank you, and I'll be happy to take questions right at the end of the Q&A session.
The next one will be J. Krishnan, fondly known as JK amongst us, his friends. He is an alumnus of IIT Madras and IIM Calcutta, involved in the IT industry since 1985, has been part of core group promoters of various startups like Computer Point, Microland, advisor to Satyam Infoway, was part of the roadshow team during its IPO and listing on the NASDAQ. He started his own software company called Netlick Technologies in 1992, successfully exited this venture to Deccan Chronicle. Very interesting. As part of Deccan Chronicle's initiative, he was instrumental in successfully bidding for an IPL franchise, Deccan Chargers, and acted as a CEO of them in 2008 and was part of the team management in 2009 season. JK, I think there may be quite a few questions on it for you. He promoted a new venture, Unimity Solutions, in 2010. He's a Rotarian since 1986, an active sports enthusiast. Here again, you may have a lot more questions to answer. He has led the Rotary cricket team to UK, Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and South Africa. I'm just surprised why you are here, not in Australia now. He is the past president of the IIM Calcutta Alumni Chennai chapter. He is a charter member and former vice president of TIE Chennai. And as part of TIE Chennai's initiatives, JK is involved as a mentor, advisor for various startups and young entrepreneurs. So it is quite fitting that he is going to talk to us as to how to become an entrepreneur. Over to you, JK.
Good morning. Thank you, Alamelu. Delighted to be here. How many of you here don't understand Tamil? Don't understand Tamil? A few. இங்கே எவ்வளோ பேருக்கு தமிழ் புரியும்? பல பேருக்கு புரியும். So I may move between Tamil and English because I'm comfortable with that, but I will always translate for the benefit of those who don't understand Tamil. I really think today entrepreneurship and becoming an entrepreneur is an excellent option for many people. Whether you're all students, whether some of us end up working for some time and then look at starting our own venture or being part of a venture, opportunities now are significant, completely different from what it was when many of us started our careers or got into becoming an entrepreneur. So I wish to share some of these aspects, and I want to also share what I think are the ingredients which are necessary for us to become an entrepreneur. So next one, please. Next. If you look back to, all of you are now in some engineering college or other. So when you finish school, your parents would have told you, become an engineer. Next. Or for some, the advice, whether it's from parents, relatives, well-wishers, friends, become a doctor. Next, please. How many at any point of time would have told us, become an entrepreneur? Nobody. Now, let me just give you one reason why it is so before I move into the next. Let us assume you all know that the budget is being announced tomorrow, correct? In the budget, let us say our Prime Minister Narendra Modi decides that for all those who start an enterprise, the next day in your bank account, the government will transfer 1 crore of rupees. Okay, tomorrow's budget, one of the moves by the government is government wants to promote entrepreneurship. So they say for all those who start an enterprise, you register. Next day in your bank account, government will transfer 1 crore of rupees. How many parents would then say, become an entrepreneur? How many? 0, 1,000, all of you. How many do you think will say, become entrepreneur?